going to read through here today in chapter 13 is not just for the 12 at this table, but it's for anybody that has said, yes, I'm a Jesus follower. I'm a Christ follower. So the words that Jesus is speaking to them as we read through this, it's also he's speaking it to us. Does that make sense? Okay, we'll keep going. So we finish up John chapter 12. Jesus is leaving his public ministry. It's been the 3 years of public ministry where he's been going out and teaching and performing miracles and helping people. And now things start to slow down in chapter 13. And we see Jesus begin his ministry just to the 12 disciples. He started showing these 12 disciples who he is and teaching them moments of what's going to happen leading up to the cross and his resurrection. And he's saying, these are for you truly devoted followers of me, my disciples. I'm going to teach you what's coming next. And so we pick this up in John chapter 13, verse 1. Before the Passover celebration, Jesus knew that his hour had come to leave this world and return to his Father. He had loved his disciples during his ministry on earth, and now he loved them to the very end. You see, Jesus' hour has come. The moment of Jesus' crucifixion is just about here. This night at the Passover meal is the night before Jesus was killed on that cross. It's time for the Passover meal, this traditional ceremony. And so here Jesus is with his disciples around that table. They're eating the lamb. They're drinking the wine. They're having a celebration. And Jesus begins to give his final instructions to his disciples. He's saying, here's the events that will happen real soon. These events are not only going to change your life, but these events that Jesus is about to do is to change the entire world. This is an amazing moment as we watch what Jesus is doing with his 12 disciples, knowing that we should be applying this to ourselves. And so as we read through John chapter 13, you'll see moments of Jesus' teachings, and it feels uncommon to us. These moments of Jesus teaching, it feels like this upside-down gospel. The good news of Jesus that really doesn't make sense to the 12 sitting at that table, and sometimes it doesn't make sense to us. We're hearing, my hour is soon here. My death is going to be soon. But first, let me give you 4 examples on how to live a life following me, Jesus. That's what he's working his way into. That's what he's trying to teach these disciples around the table. And for them, it doesn't make sense. And for me, sometimes it doesn't make sense. And hopefully, today we'll see these 4 different examples and we'll understand this just a little bit more. So the first thing that I think Jesus was teaching his disciples around that table, and for us, he's teaching them how to serve each other in humility. Serve each other in humility. You see, the only people that would wash someone's feet in this moment are Jewish bondservants, or those that are having to pay off a debt, or Gentile slaves. Both these people are a picture of humility. Let me just read this here for you real quick. John chapter 13, verse 4. So he got up from the table. This is Jesus. So Jesus got up from the table, took off his robe, wrapped a towel around his waist, and poured water into a basin. Then he began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with the towel he had around him. In this moment, Jesus took the place of a slave, a bondservant, or a Gentile slave. Serving people is never underneath you. We should be wanting and desiring to serve people. Think about it. Jesus did this. Recognize who Jesus is in this moment. He's the Son of God. He's the Savior of the world. He's God in flesh. And in this moment, he stoops down and he starts to wash his disciples' feet. In this moment, divinity is serving humanity. In this moment, the Creator is serving the created. In this moment, God of the universe is washing his disciples' feet. And as I was studying through this and reading through this, if God can do that, why don't I? Maybe that's a question you're asking yourself. If God can do that to the 12 people that are sitting around that table, why don't I? I ask you often to pray, God, what do you want to do through me? And maybe in this moment of realizing that the God of the universe is stooping down, making himself a slave, serving other people. Maybe instead of, God, what do you want to do through me? It's, God, how can I live and serve the people around me today? What does that look like? How do we do that? Jesus showed us a very clear example of what that looks like. Number 2, serving others is never about who they are. It's about who Christ is and how he wants us to follow his example. Let me read it out of John chapter 13, verse 21 through 30. Look at this. Now Jesus was deeply troubled, and he exclaimed, I tell you the truth, one of you will betray me. The disciples looked at each other, wondering whom he could mean. Verse 23. The disciple Jesus loved was sitting next to Jesus at the table. Simon Peter mentioned to him to ask, who's he talking about? So that disciple leaned over to Jesus and asked, Lord, who is it? Verse 26. Jesus responded, it is the one to whom I give the bread I dip in the bowl. And when he had dipped it, he gave it to Judas, son of Simon Iscariot. When Judas had eaten the bread, Satan entered into him. Then Jesus told him, hurry and do what you are going to do. Verse 28, none of the others at the table knew what Jesus meant. Since Judas was their treasurer, some thought Jesus was telling him to go and pay for the food or to give some money to the poor. So Judas left at once, going out into the night. Did you notice that? Judas was at that table. Judas is the one that betrays Jesus for some simple coins. And this moment that we just read about Jesus leaving, this was after Jesus washed his feet. Whoa. So Judas was there. He was in the upper room. He was having dinner with the others. He was a student of Jesus. He was invited to that table, and Jesus knew that Judas was going to betray him. In fact, as we heard, verse 2 said that the devil had already prompted Judas. Are you picturing that? Judas was at the table, and Jesus knew that Judas was going to betray him. And Jesus looks him in the eye and bends down to wash his feet. This is hard for me. Are you squirming in your seats like I did when I first read through this? Is this hard for you? The questions that kept going through my mind is, who has betrayed me? Who has deceived me? Who has wronged me? Who has lied about me? Who has gossiped about me? Who has stabbed me in the back? And am I willing to wash that person's feet? Am I willing to serve that person? It's not about who they are, but it's about Christ who is living inside of me, and it's about me following his example to be a fully devoted follower of Jesus Christ. Number 3. Oh, I'm sorry. This one. The true test isn't just loving Jesus. It's loving Judas. So my human nature, right, as I think about this moment, my human nature would be, if I was Jesus, to know that Judas was going to betray me. My human nature would be like, Judas, why don't you just leave the room now? Like, save some lamp for me. Like, there's more wine that I could have if Judas wasn't here. But Jesus' example to Judas was to wash his feet. That's what Jesus did. Why did Jesus do that? Jesus sets the example of how to treat people who have mistreated you, so that anger, so that bitterness, so that resentment doesn't take a stronghold of your life. Jesus sets the example. I think that should be up on the screen. Jesus sets the example of how to treat people